Describe Marjorie Taylor Greene in one word. Right now, put it in the comments. Because according to Laura Loomer, she's a traitor. And a big part of that is because of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, the U.S. House has approved a bill 427-1 to force the release of the Epstein files, sending it to the Senate. And just prior to this vote that has forced the Epstein file release and getting it passed in the House, what did Marjorie Taylor Greene have to say about our beloved President Trump? Well, it's going to have some consequences.
I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people whom we serve as representatives here in Congress demanded that this vote happen, and they put more pressure on every single elected politician in this city than has ever been put on them. And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files, but the real fight will happen after that.
She's firing right back at Trump because Trump called her a traitor for the way that she has stood up to get these Epstein files released. And it's interesting that almost every single Republican now voted to have these Epstein files get released in the House after months and months and months of Republicans and Big Daddy Trump here saying, whoa, we need to lay off this Epstein thing.
Yeah, sure.
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
So Trump got mad that a reporter was even asking about the Epstein thing when so many of Trump's top guys, who are now heads of the FBI, for instance, were talking about all they were going to do with the Epstein files. And now that this Epstein vote has gotten so much support, despite all of the pushback Trump gave it, despite all the pushback the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, gave it, Trump was asked in the Oval Office, and he had a little bit of a change of tune about these Epstein files.
Can I clarify something you posted on Truth Social last night? You urged House Republicans to vote in favor of this Epstein release bill they're going to vote on tomorrow. I just want to be super clear on your position. Do you want to see that pass the Senate? Would you sign that bill if it gets to your desk?
I do want to. Here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others. They're all Democrats. All I want for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower, on energy, on ending 8 wars, and another one coming pretty soon, I believe. We've done a great job. And I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. You know, with Kennedy, we gave everything and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages, 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans. Now, I believe that many of the people some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. But they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And we'll see what happens. What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party.
So Trump won't answer the question about if he really wants this to pass in the Senate and if he will sign the bill. Now that it's gotten so much pressure and so much progress, now he's got to put his support out. Because if he doesn't, and he says, oh, you guys better vote against this, he keeps going, it's a bad look. Before we hear more from Marjorie Taylor Greene from the press conference and from different episodes and talks leading up to this vote, to hear what her thoughts were. Is she a traitor? Is she just standing up for these victims? Is she trying to bring down Trump? Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of her. I know a lot of you really do not like her now. And explain to me why, please. Because it's very odd about how many of these Trump administration type people were all in favor of releasing the Epstein files. And then they weren't. And now that they've gotten a lot of traction with this vote, now all of a sudden they're for it again?
Everyone that voted for Trump Vance, everyone was like, release the Epstein files.
Right.
This is not even an argument. It's not even debatable. It's not being a traitor to the president to sign my name on a Thomas Massie discharge petition to release the Epstein files. No. I am staying true to what we've always said. There needs to be transparency.
So what's the change all about? Well, if we think and use our brains and don't just go off what we see on CNN or even Fox News, we know that there's got to be tons and tons of pressure by big shakers of the world, politicians, possibly billionaires who help influence and run certain countries and markets. I'm sure they are pressuring Trump and his team with who knows what, because they do not want to be ousted on this list. That will be so bad. And now, in response to Trump really not answering that question about if he will sign this bill if it gets to his desk about releasing the files, let's hear what MTG had to say about that.
I only take people's actions seriously, no longer words.
And what do you think the president's actions?
And I'll tell you, because I wasn't a Johnny-come-lately to the MAGA train. I was day one 2015, and there's a big difference in those Americans and those that decided to support President Trump later on. And I'll tell you right now, this has been one of the most destructive things to MAGA, is watching the man that we supported early on, 3 elections, for people that stood hours, slept in their cars to go to rallies, have fought for truth and transparency, and to hold what we consider a corrupt government accountable. Watching this actually turn into a fight has ripped MAGA apart. And the only thing that will speak to the powerful, courageous women behind me is when action is actually taken to release these files, and the American people won't tolerate any other bullshit. That's where we are today. Thank you.
Let me know in the comments what you guys think right now based on that little clip. Her not messing around, her really going after it, her not worrying about Trump's support. Because if you're pissed at MTG, I have one question for you. Wasn't it cool a few months ago, many months ago, in the beginning of the Trump administration, to be all about releasing the Epstein files? We had all these different MAGA influencers, Scott Pressler, DC Drano, Libs of TikTok, Jack Posobiec, going to the White House, having these big binders about the Epstein files, all the stuff that's going to be released. It was a huge positive thing within the Trump administration, within the MAGA movement, within the influencer circle, to be all about releasing the Epstein files. And now that Big Daddy Trump has really flipped his switch and gone totally against the Epstein files, except for recently because the vote has come up so soon, now it's a bad thing to want that to be released. Please explain that to me. How does that make sense? And now that this Epstein file vote has gotten so much headwind, what does the Speaker of the House have to say about it? Because initially, he was not for this vote. He was not for having other Republicans approve or vote yes on this, even though now they just voted 427 to 1. What does he have to say about why these should not be released? Even though previously it was cool to hold up the Epstein binders.
Number 5, national security concerns, okay? The discharge requires the Attorney General to release within 30 days, quote, classified information to the maximum extent possible. This ignores the principle that declassification should always rest, and always has rested, with the agency that originated the intelligence. Why? So that they can protect their critical sources and methods. It is incredibly dangerous to demand that officials or employees of the DOJ declassify materials that originated in other agencies, in intelligence agencies.
So it's a national security risk, according to Mike Johnson, to release all this information because you don't know. You're declassifying information that could be a national security risk, which I really believe, because if you think in depth about who's implicated in these files, I bet there's a lot of shakers and movers in the world, and that information coming out, who knows what mayhem it can cause, even if it's right to do so, because it's really wicked stuff they did on the Epstein Island. But here's another argument from Mike Johnson and a lot of the Republicans and Fox News people, a lot of people we've liked, about why we can't do this, why this is a Democrat hoax.
The Biden Department of Justice had the files the entire time. And not a single one of the people who are so loud and animated right now, they never said anything about it for all those 4 years. None of them held press conferences. None of them demanded the release of the documents. And under Biden's DOJ, when they prosecuted just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, not a single one of these Democrats or any of the proponents of the discharge ever made any noise about that at all. So it's fair for the American people to ask the question, why now? Why suddenly are they so interested? They have such an urgent interest in the Jeffrey Epstein matter. The truth is simple and straightforward and obvious for anyone who is willing to look at it objectively. Clearly, this is a political exercise for Democrats and a few others, sadly, and it is as deceitful and dishonest as their pointless stunt to shut down the government.
And this is a good point, which a lot of you guys have repeated in the comments, that where were the Democrats about this Epstein list before? Now they only want to do it to try to shut down Trump. Well, I would ask the same thing. Why is the Trump administration flip-flopping so much? If you think you can realize that it's probably because of behind-the-scenes pressure and different dirt they have on different people, because this is a serious list of offenders we can imagine if they're able to be hidden and protected for so long. And it's easy to sit here when you guys are watching on your TV, on your phone, and comment down below and be all mad either about Trump, either about the Democrats. But even for me, if you get frustrated at why isn't this being released, why are we having these disingenuous comments from Trump, from the administration, possibly because of different pressures they're facing. And then when you think about your own life, you think about different pressures you get, whether it's to not be liked if you bring up something controversial, whether it's a different great opportunity you'll get if you keep your mouth shut. You know, we can all think of ways in different situations where we have caved or maybe compromised or not been ready to stand 10 toes down in a way on certain things because of pressures or atmospheres or wanting to be liked. And then imagine what it's like to take a stand when maybe your life is being threatened, maybe there's blackmail on you, maybe there's so much money being waved in front of your face, like with this Epstein list. Imagine how tough it must be to be ready for attacks, be ready for attacks on your family, be ready for lack of influence that you can have because they're going to shut you out of certain circles. Imagine how tough that must be to deal with, which Trump and these other people might be dealing with, most likely are dealing with, because that's the only explanation that explains such a flip-flop we've had from before, oh, release all the files, to now, no, stop. And finally, we're going to end it with some words from Thomas Massie as this vote was going on. A man who a lot of you guys cannot stand now that Trump's spoken out about him. Let's hear what he had to say on such a victorious day, really, for him to get this vote, which I don't know how you can criticize this when all he wants to do is release the Epstein files and hold people accountable who did some very, very dark stuff.
This bill, he says that it was poorly drafted, does not protect the victims as well. What do you say to him?
Well, he's trying to say that rich and powerful men who were on the plane to Epstein Island are now victims. That they would be victims because their names would get disclosed. Like, look at his PowerPoint presentation today. He's creating a new category of victims. So I think that's how a Christian man can stand up there and say a lie like that, is he's got something in the back of his head that makes it okay. But if he had real concerns, he could have introduced his own legislation. Look.
So who is Mike Johnson trying to protect? Let me know in the comments. It's Sean Daniel here. And also let me know that one word you would use to describe Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'll see you in the next one.